To be or not to be? That is the question.
Hamlet is a tragedy play written by William Shakespeare around the late 16th or early 17th century, also known as his longest and the most complex play he has ever written. The play is set in Elsinore Castle in Denmark during the late Middle Ages, and to just briefly summarize the whole plot of the play, it's basically about Prince Hamlet trying to take revenge against his uncle Claudius, who killed Hamlet's father and married his mother to take the throne. Now, as you can see, the play mainly revolves around the theme of love and loss, and thus revenge and death, such as Hamlet loved but lost his father, so decided to avenge his father by killing Claudius, or likewise, Laertes loved but lost his father, Polonius, because Hamlet accidentally killed him, which led Laertes to plan a murder of Hamlet. And this is one of the factors that have made the play Hamlet so popular and relevant continuously even to this day. The universality of it. By definition, it means the quality of involving or being shared by all people or things in the words or in a particular group. And for sure, love, loss, revenge, and death really are the main things that could have been the origin of big events in the world's history too. So anyway, this universality in Hamlet surely was a superpower that Shakespeare successfully managed to convey. In fact, most of Hamlet's speech itself plays significant roles in better depicting the universal theme through many uses of literary devices, especially the allusion to the Greek-Roman mythology. In order to understand why and how this Greek-Roman mythology is so important in expressing the universal theme, we first need to take a closer look at what is mythology, because it's clear that most people living in this world, and even people alive by the time when Shakespeare was writing Hamlet, wouldn't genuinely believe in mythical stuff like Cerberus, the three-headed dog who's guarding the Hades underworld, Grey-eyed sister, the three old ladies with only one eye, which they are sharing with each other to see, or even gorgons like Medusa, who has snake hairs and an ability to turn people into stone with her gaze. Well, quite frankly, those terrific mythical creatures aren't all about the myth itself. But what we believe to be the value of mythology is, I think, in its stories. I'll be talking about some of the stories relevant to Hamlet later, but their mythical stories really do consist of some very important and relatable, namely universal moral lessons. So how does Hamlet use the allusion to this mythology to better depict the theme of universality? To demonstrate this, I'll be using some lines from Hamlet's soliloquy in Act 1, Scene 2, where he's lamenting over his father's death, as well as this inappropriately quick marriage of his mom and Claudius after the King Hamlet's death.
So excellent a king that was to this Hyperion to a satyr.
Hyperion is the Titan god of heavenly light, one of the 12 children of Uranus, the god of heaven, and Gaia, the goddess of earth. In other words, he's a symbolic figure of an extremely wise and powerful god, which is the perfect analogy for Hamlet to describe his father, whom he greatly looks up to. Whereas Satyr in Roman mythology is a man that has a god's tail, legs, ears, and horns. In other words, extremely ugly, roguish, lustful, dangerous, troublemaking, or just basically just anything that Hamlet likes to describe Claudius. By using these mythical creatures that are greatly contrasting to each other, it portrays Hamlet's strong hatred towards Claudius as well as his high respect towards the King Hamlet.
But no more like my father than I to Hercules within a month.
Hercules is one of the most famous figures in Greek-Roman mythology. He is a son of Zeus and another mortal princess, so naturally ever since he was born, Hera, Zeus' wife and the goddess of marriage and birth, hated him. And he's also known for being exceptionally strong from the moment he was born, that he would just strangle 2 snakes to death that Hera has sent to secretly kill him when he was literally an infant sleeping in his crib. But anyway, he eventually became an adult, got married, had kids, and happily lived his life with his family. Meanwhile, up in the Mount Olympus, Hera was just fuming with anger and jealousy, and so she decided to curse him and basically make him go mad until he kills his own family on the spot. When he regained his consciousness, he was like, oh no, what have I done? I should probably follow my family, and tried committing suicide. But at that right moment, Theseus, another strong guy, came in and said, wait, no, you have so much potential. And so they decided to head to the Oracle of Delphi to ask what to do, which then replied that Hercules should go find Eurystheus, the king of Mycenae, and accomplish every task he tells him to do, which is in fact what Hera is telling Eurystheus to just deliver the message. So he did, and it took Hercules 12 years to accomplish all the tasks. Obviously, I don't have time to fit in explaining all these 12 tasks in this video, but this myth is really interesting, that a lot of great works of literature, art, or even sculptures were created inspired by this story. You can check out this TED video explaining these 12 trials if you're interested.
Niobe, all tears.
Niobe was the queen of Thebes, who was condescending about her children, bragging about how she's a better mother than Leto, the goddess of motherhood and the mother of Apollo and Artemis. In revenge, Apollo and Artemis killed all of her children for disrespecting their mother, and it is said that after seeing her children getting killed one by one, Niobe has cried endlessly until she became a whipping stone after all. Here, this allusion to Niobe shows that Hamlet is clearly upset and angry about the fact that Gertrude didn't even spend some time mourning the death of her husband like Niobe, but instead proceeded to quickly remarry Claudius. So up until this point, we've been looking at some of the examples of how Greek-Roman mythology was alluded in Hamlet's soliloquy, making this whole sense of universality much clearer, and really allowing Shakespeare to express Hamlet's genuine feeling through these subtle indirect references. Obviously, Greek-Roman mythology is still very influential even to this day, that it shows up in almost every aspect of our life. First of all, Nike, the famous sportswear company, is alluding to Nike, the Greek goddess of victory. Demi Lovato's song called Heart Attack has this line, I'm flying too close to the sun, which is referring to Icarus, the boy in Greek mythology who attempted to fly away and escape from Crete with his father, but ended up falling into the sea because he didn't heed his father's warning not to fly too close to the sun. This psychoanalytic term, Oedipus complex, suggested by Sigmund Freud, which refers to an idea of a child's sexual desire towards his or her father or mother, also comes from the actual myth of Oedipus, the king of Thebes, who unknowingly murdered his father and married his own mother. Even in geography, the world's second longest river, the Amazon River, was also named after the female warriors and hunters, Amazonas, in Greek mythology. If you've been paying close attention to the background music, it's a classical piece that also was inspired by Greek-Roman mythology as well. It's a piece called This. In English translation, it's called Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun, and it was composed by Claude Debussy, inspired by a poem by Stephen Mallarmé, which talks about a faun playing his panpipes alone in the woods, become aroused by passing nymphs and naiads, pursued them unsuccessfully, then wearily abandoned himself to a sleep filled with visions. Okay. But anyway, this has been my brief analysis about how Greek-Roman mythology has been alluded in Hamlet, how it holds its importance of universal moral lessons nowadays, and thus how it frequently shows up in this modern world as well. Hope this was somewhat of an interesting viewpoint about different ways of interpreting Hamlet, and thank you for watching.